Speaking with Reverend Elaine and Gretchen the other day about our experiences as ministers, we agreed that in our collective 30 years of ministry, the last couple of months, it seems that more people are in crisis than we've seen really ever before. Emotional crisis, physical illness, distress, grief, and loss. It's not easy right now. And if it feels like I'm speaking to you, well, know that you are not alone. If it feels like you are being called to offer care for others and it's weighing on you heavier and heavier, you are not alone. I invite us into a time of prayer and contemplation, honoring the weight of this moment and the real ghosts that are present to us right now. Spirit of life and love, when we look around our community, people are struggling in their jobs, in their families. They feel the sting of isolation and loneliness, the stress of expectation, the expectation of returning to normal in abnormal times. Many of us delayed healthcare or kind of forgot to go to the doctor over this time of pandemic. And so every day brings news of diagnoses or hospitalization. Spirit, we know that much of what is happening right now isn't because of this moment, but because of what happened in the last 2 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 400 years. Because of the ghosts that we carry around us, ghosts in our families and ghosts in our country. As we move through our days, confused and disoriented by our current political environment, the cultural divides, the cycles of misinformation, we try to remind ourselves that, like every family, if we go back a few generations, we will uncover that unresolved wound, the loss, the pain, and the trauma that was just pushed through, ignored, and adapted around. It's normal to be overcome, possessed even by the remorses and regrets of this life, these ghosts of the past, the ways that we wish we would have acted differently or acted at all, trying to manage the impossible choices when we didn't know better. Ghosts of addiction, the lies that we told or believed, depression, pain, both personal, generational, and historical. It's too easy to be filled with fear, that ghost from the future, a specific or general anxiety that keeps us from showing up here and now fully. Behind many of these apparitions is shame, whispering to us of our fundamental insufficiencies and unworthiness. What ghosts are present with you right now? What hauntings of the past claw their way into your days, claiming your future for themselves? Do you know their names? Have you given them names? How do you feel their presence? Spirit of life, remind us of our strength to have come this far, to keep on surviving one day, 1 hour, one moment at a time, the strength of simply getting out of bed or asking for help. Surround our wounded hearts with grace and forgiveness for the hardest person to forgive, which is often ourselves. Fortify our hearts for the soul work of coming to terms, of facing, naming, and reckoning so that we might taste freedom in moments, in hours, in days, or in decades. May we grant ourselves patience, knowing that journey is often long, but it is always worthy. Amen, and blessed be. It's true that this work of coming to terms is not easy. It never has been and never will be. Often it creates a sense of fear within us, right? We have this fear of the future, of what it would be like if we named it, faced it, were able to feel it, or be able to move beyond the ghost that hangs out just behind. And often we feel that fear, that anxiety in our bodies. I know for me, it's a tightness in my chest, my jaw, my shoulders. My heart seems to beat faster. My world shrinks, restricts. So I made this little video to help us, mostly for myself, but I thought you might appreciate it. Help us to remember some of the practices that can create a little bit more space, a little bit of respite in our nervous systems to be able to manage that fear, that anxiety, and create just a little bit more space. Ever feel anxious, but you don't know why? I mean, you're going through your daily life and there's nothing in particular that should be making you feel nervous, but you just are. Here's 5 things you can do. But before we dive into that, there's something you should know. A lot of times we think that anxiety, that feeling that something bad's going to happen, is in our head. But actually, it lives in our bodies. And so there's lots of ways that we can help our bodies start to feel less scared, less nervous, less anxious, that don't actually have anything to do with thinking anything differently. Number 1, ground yourself in your body. This simply means feel your body. It could be a matter of taking a breath, feeling where your body is being pulled down to the ground, where it's touching something, your clothes. Just 1 second of grounding in your physical body can help your body relax. Number 2, orient yourself. Look around your space. In particular, look for doors and exits and windows. These things help your body feel like you could escape if something bad was happening. Physically turning and looking at what's behind you relaxes your body. Number 3, do some sensory activities. I love that feeling of being squished and rocking. Thus, this sensory thing is great for me. Engage your sense of smell. Lavender. Another sensory activity I like a lot is weight. So that's why I have a weighted blanket. Placing this on my chest really calms me down. Number 4, get outside. Simply going outside, looking up and around, gazing at a tree, feeling the breeze, can help the body regulate and feel more connected to itself. A lot of times when we have this sense of anxiety, it's because we feel like we don't have a lot of control. And so sometimes making small decisions can help remind ourselves that actually we do have control. So that could be as simple as cleaning up your messy office, deciding to go on a walk. The other day I decided not to go to work because I was anxious about work, but then because I chose to not go to work, I then wanted to go to work because I felt like I had control over it. Give you that little hack for your week. Choose not to work and then maybe you'll be able to do it. There's many ways that we can deal with our ghosts, but reducing that experience of anxiety is definitely the place to start so that we're able to bring our full self to the table so that we can figure out what the best strategy is. Are we going to bust the ghost? Are we going to ignore it? Are we going to deny it? We have many ways of dealing with it. And these holdovers from the past, often, we can't release them until we've come to terms with what they're saying to us, what grip they have on us. And that's going to look different for each of us. When I announced the opening song, Where You Go, I Will Go, I think Christine put in the chat, that's what my ghosts do. Where, Where you go, I will go, right? And I was thinking about some of the ghosts that I have. And so I made another video about how I've dealt with some of the ghosts in my life that seem to follow me around. Hey man, what's up? Who's the guy in the back? Oh, do you mean Dave? Dave?
What's up?
Yeah, Dave's one of my ghosts. He pretty much hangs around all the time. He's the ghost of getting to my sophomore year of college without realizing that I had a learning disability that made me feel really stupid, but actually it was just because my brain was different. Yeah, I've asked him to leave, but it just doesn't work. So we just have one rule. Right, Dave?
I don't get to drive.
Yeah, he doesn't get to drive. Sometimes we won't get rid of our ghosts, the grief, the loss, the fear. And so sometimes what we have to do is the work that we get to do is all about enforcing that rule, the rule that I have for Dave, which is that he doesn't get to drive. I get to decide where my life is going, and sometimes he can be a bit of a backseat driver, but that's the extent of it. The healing work that I have done allows him to just be there. And I imagine he'll be there for the rest of my life. That's what coming to terms has meant for me. Coming to terms with ghosts is like this. We integrate them, we metabolize them, even if we don't entirely exorcise them from our lives. We learn how to live with them in ways that don't just allow us to live fully in the present, in the here and now, but actually frees us to apply their lessons and the way they've changed us and shaped us into a better future. And that is my wish for us, and what we'll be diving into our series together is how we can do that for one another. So, amen and blessed be.